Making time to be here. We have with us Claude Alvares, and who's going to talk about the wonderful work that they've been doing with the Goa Foundation, and Frederick Noronha, who we all know, who's also made time on a Sunday evening to be with us. I'm not going to take any more time because we're running late. I'm going to just move out of your way and let you get started.
So it's such a pleasure to have Claude here and to have all of you all here. And I won't say much, but Claude has been an inspiration to us from our 20s. And I've been following him very closely. So as we were talking, I said there are three things we need to talk on. One is of course the book. The second is the background to the book, the environmental issues of Goa and the context it has come out. And the third is Claude Alvares. So on the third he just vetoed me. He said we won't talk about it. So I said yeah, that's the journalist in me trying to get the story out of him. So we will not talk about that now. I will extract another interview from him somewhere later. But as far as the first two go, it's a very intertwined story which we need to understand and record for history, for posterity, because it's very important on how we understand our recent past and our present. So Claude, of course everyone has heard what Claude has to say at the release at GALF, at the 3-hour function which they had releasing the book, which was very fascinating. I thought it was so nice that he brought all the environmental groups together. And in Goa, it's very easy to get into infighting, and I don't know how he navigates all that. But he got everyone who was doing anything on the environment and gave them their place in the sun. So that's Claude for you. So without going into too much myself, we'll listen to Claude. The first question is, you keep it as a conversation. If I'm going off track, just choke me up or drag me back or whatever you want to do.
It's a difficult thing to do.
And you have to start at it, you'll manage. But to start off, how do you see the issues having changed between all 5 editions of your book? As far as Goa goes.
So I don't know whether people would be that much interested in history, but the first edition, this is the first one, which came out in 1992, which was released by Maneka Gandhi at the Nehru Briganza Hall. And it was reprinted the same year, and another reprint in 1995. Reprint, we didn't do any changes. Then we had the 2002 edition, where we changed the color. You can see the same color, but the cover changed to red. And then the final one is the one that came out in 2000. So you have all the 3 colors here. That's how it looks. This is the evolution of fish curry rice, and we insisted on keeping Mario Miranda throughout because he was quintessential Goan, and he did it especially for us. I mean, of course he was an old friend of mine, so he had no other choice. He didn't get any money for it or anything, but he was very happy to do things. So if you take a book over 5 editions, over 35 years, obviously, many people would try to get me to reprint it in the space from 2002 to 2026. Because there was one chap who came to my office and said I could only purchase a copy from Amazon for $5,000. When he said that, I said, hey, this book has got a lot of money in it. Apparently somebody sold his second-hand copy for 5,000 rupees.
It is actually not Amazon, I did check.
So I realized it might as well try and get it done. But my Norma will testify to this. Last 20 years have been sort of roller coaster ride on petitions in the High Court, because Goa has gone through a lot of stress, environmental stress, and we've had a lot of problems with the government's decisions on many things. So we are constantly in the court. Sometimes we'll be filing 15 petitions a year, 20 petitions a year. And each petition had to be very elaborately argued. It had to pass her because she will not argue nonsense. And it had to be within the law. And we can't just go there on emotional grounds and all that. So it had to be very, very solid. So you could say that from 2002 to 2026, there were every year one new edition coming out of fish curry rice. In that sense, because it was things being written about, a petition which would be about 60 to 70 pages on a particular issue, and then the arguments, then the counter-arguments, then the rejoinders and the sur-rejoinders and so on, and then finally a judgment of 200 pages, and all together put together would be a book of 500 pages. And we did 350 PILs like this, 350 PILs. It's Mahatma Gandhi's 90 collected volumes. 350 collected volumes, and we don't know where to keep them. Now we have put them all up on the net. Everybody can access our petitions, the whole petition itself, what it says, get a soft copy of it, they can copy it, they can see what judgment was passed in it, but it's all now part of, it's on archive.org, you know archive.org, so it's all going there and available for everybody. So to go back to your question about the changes, the issues at that time.
Can you give us a timeline? Can you give us a timeline how it evolved? Because I know you all started with sand mining, which was about the very first.
That is 86.
Correct.
The same judge who is now leading this agitation, enough is enough, is the judge who appeared for the first Goa Foundation case.
As a lawyer.
As a lawyer, to fight the sand mining that was taking place at the South Goa beaches. And you would not believe it, but sand was being extracted in trucks, taken to the Kavelosi railway station, where they would be put in wagons. Wagon loads of sand would go to foundries in Pune because it had silica content, which was very good for the foundries there. And we had to go to court to get it stopped. And finally, we had a very good judge who came from Bombay and who passed a judgment saying that nothing of the sort. And that was our first PIL.
And then, what were the other issues, if you give us a timeline?
Then we began with all the coastal issues. Because hardly had the Goa Foundation started and filed a sand extraction petition. And we said, don't take the sand because it's part of the beach and it's not part of a foundry or something. It's part of the beach. Let it be there because it's got functions to dissipate the tides and to also prevent salt water from coming in. Hardly had that got over. 4 months later, the central government started giving permissions for 5-star resort on the same sand dunes. Now, I mean, at that time we still thought the government of India follows some reason, but they came out with the Ramada Hotel and then the Dalmia Hotel and the Avetadros Hotel, and the Majorda, all these hotels started coming up from 1988 onwards. And then we were in court in many of these cases, up to the Supreme Court with Indira Jai Singh fighting all these matters in the Supreme Court and the High Court now. So every time, if we wanted to do an improvement of this book, we just didn't have the time because it's not possible. I mean, produce a book of this kind, you got to have first of all concentration. You got to see that your facts are correct. You got to see that everything is proper because a lot of children use these books. If there's anybody who wants to do an essay on environment education, on any of the subjects of environment education in schools in Goa, the teachers will tell them you go to see fish curry rice. And it is so remarkable that a couple of months ago, before this book was under preparation, the lady who sells us vegetables in the market, not in the market, on the Sarigaon road, they've got this vegetable store. And she caught me one day. I was picking up potatoes and tomatoes and so on. She said, "But you have written a book." I said, "What book?" "I'm keeping a fish curry something." So I said, "Yeah, can you give me a copy?" I said, what do you want a copy for?" And it's not a bit. She said, "My daughter has been asked to do an assignment and she is told to get fish curry." Now this is 20 years after it has gone out of print. So I got my own copy and gave it to her and said that please return it after a month, and she did return it after a month. But it's been in a in sort of public consciousness for some time, only because it's a unique type of a book. It's not a book about Goa from beginning to end.
But it's very comprehensive in the issues it tackles. See, while GF has been tackling certain issues in a very concerted manner. After the luxury tourism hotel issue, you come to Konkan Railway, and then a few priority issues which are more flag bearer issues. But the book tackles the full gamut of Goan issues, even if it's a small fountain being taken over by tourism department in a village or something like that. Now, I think it's very comprehensive. Would you agree?
Yeah, see, it doesn't encapsulate all the things that were happening with the Goa Foundation. Yeah. It doesn't. Because when you're doing a book like this, you can't come out with only what the Goa Foundation has done, because there are dozens of environment groups in Goa. All of them are doing heroic work. None of them are funded. Each is, putting their own hands into their own pockets, taking out money and time. Time is more important than money, and doing it. So that's why one of the things about all the 3 books, all the 5 editions, is a chapter which only highlights what citizens have done for Goa's environment. And all the groups have changed. Some, if you look in the first chapter, first edition, some of those groups no longer survive, they have gone, but new groups have come. But there's a solid phalanx of NGOs in Goa, citizens groups, village level groups, which say nothing doing. If necessary, we'll come out on the streets, we'll block the traffic, we will, go to the minister's house and we'll create a nuisance. You have seen the people from the Chimel agitation. They had come with their blankets and everything, and they said we'll sleep on the road also, on the highway, and we don't mind till you take a decision. They are fairly comfortable sleeping on the road. They went to the minister's house, Rane's house, and did all sorts of things. So it's a in that sense, the contribution is always going to be very diverse. Because this is not a Goa Foundation book. It may have been published by the Goa Foundation or done by the staff of the Goa Foundation. But basically, it's a book that reflects the turbulence in Goa on environmental issues. Now, the environment in Goa is not just trees. The environment in Goa is culture. It's the ecosystems, and that's why the title, Fish Curry and Rice. Yeah, you remember our common friend Reggie Gomes. Reggie Gomes, there was an organization called Goa Research Institute for Development, GRID, one of the old NGOs, and they were located in Santines, circle building called Despamon building. Just about 6 months ago, they sold the flat finally, because that was irrevocable closure. He told me, he said, look, this Center for Environment has brought out this citizens report. Why don't we bring out something for Goa?
Anil Agarwal's in Delhi.
Anil Agarwal's book, Science, the Citizens Report, on which we had all worked on. Remember the first report of Science, Center for Science and Environment. So he said, why don't we put together, why don't we do a survey of all that's happening in all this? So we said, yes, we'll do it. Then when it came to the title, he said, what should we put as a title? I don't know how it came to me. I mean, he said, Fish Curry Rice. So he was appalled. He said, how can Fish Curry Rice for a book like this? I mean, very serious book. Can't have Fish Curry Rice. I said, Baba, it is Fish Curry Rice. I had to explain to him, he was the director of the institute. I had to explain to him that fish is representative of the entire coast and the marine areas and all the biodiversity there, and the kazans and the mangroves and the sand dunes and all those things in CRZ, everything is fish. It's fish. And then you come to the alluvial plains, it is all rice and coconut. So it is all fish, curry and rice. And what better title to put for a book like this than Fish Curry and Rice? Because people are going to say, Fish Curry and Rice is a cookbook. Well, it is a cookbook in a way because it's giving you a recipe of life, of how people live in Goa, and how everything boils down to fish, curry and rice.
Claude, you're giving us so many facts that I'm struggling to make sense of it, and I'm sure everyone else also is. Though I've been following you for so many years, so I don't have an excuse. But what I think, is very crucial. One is that you stuck to it for 35 years and not let it go. Secondly, that you've not taken the easy way out, like how many of us publishers do, of reprinting a book which is out of print, but updating it each time. And knowing you to be the perfectionist you are, you won't trust people around you, to look at commas and full stops, because you can do a better job, and it's true. So I can imagine the kind of work that has gone into it. But most importantly, what I'd like to suggest is that books of these kind of make sense of what seems to be random movements, random protests, by explaining the wider context of where it's coming from. Would you agree with me? And if so, I also like to point to some of your other works like the organic farming source book. Or for example, the idea of having an alternative press called Adi India Press, which has influenced us also in a very big way. this kind of independent presses, independent bookshops. And the last point, since Norma is here, I'd like to give her credit. Before Amazon had started, Claude was running Third World Network bookstore. And it was very snobbish in a very unusual sense. They would say, we are not stocking books from the first world because they have enough people to promote them. We are only for the third world, and they would wear that label with pride, not like, some in the West say it's like third class kind of thing. They wore it with pride. It was a political term. And they were sending books to all over India in a pre-Amazon era. Okay, that it didn't scale up like Amazon is a different story. That's a financial story, but it played a huge role and closed down very sadly during the pandemic a few years back. But it kept on for a long time. So do you think books like this have a role to make sense of?
See, we had two ambitions. One was to provide people in general, not academics. Yeah. I've got now sort of a sustained hostility to academic literature. Why laughing? I have a PhD myself. But I have a little bit of, now I don't, matter of fact, my wife and I did not try and encourage children to get out of school and people to get out of college. But there are two aspects which you can see which are important in this book, which will answer your question. One is, what are the things that were there in 1993 and 2026, which is information about a basic substratum information about Goa, which doesn't change. For example, how many rivers are there? Which are the names of these rivers? What are the maps showing these rivers? Etc. etc. That basic information is there right through. And that part of the book, 1992, 1995, 2012, has not changed. Means the basic physical, geographical information about Goa is still there. It may be slightly updated here and there. Like for example, if you take the river section, we now have a 6-page section on the Made Bacha, the Made water diversion, controversy and agitation and all that, which is not there. Not there. Likewise, if you look at the earlier portion, there was an entire chapter on, Goa was going to be declared a free port.
Yeah.
So there was an entire chapter on the free port and why people are opposed to it in the first edition. That is not there. There was an entire chapter on the Konkan Railway in the first edition. It's not there right now. So certain issues have just disappeared. Certain issues have come in a big way, like the DuPont agitation came in a big way in the mid-editions, because it was happening at the time. DuPont was kicked out of Goa in 1994. So naturally it will be in the 1994 edition and the 2002 edition. But it's no longer really relevant right now because that issue is gone, it's moribund. DuPont is gone to Tamil Nadu and so in that sense, if you look at the books, any researcher who wants to look at the issues that shook the heart of Goa for these 35-40 years, he would see, okay, these were the issues and how did they, transmogrify into these, and from here how do they migrate to these. So 2026, is in many ways there are issues which are there, but many new issues which could not even be conceived about in that particular time when we wrote the first edition.
So what's going wrong here? The government is insensitive, or they don't care for where it's going, because the protests keep coming up.
The government doesn't purchase fish curry rice. My wife was saying that you should give a copy to Dr. Pramod Sawant. I don't know, I have to ask the publisher whether she is willing to sacrifice a free copy. I'm quite sure you will take it and keep it aside. And then, they don't have time.
He has the Department of Education under him.
Yes.
That's why. And the
first edition, they ordered 500 copies, which went to all the schools.
All the public life, that Marathi was there.
There was a very interesting director called Marathi.
That's why I told him, go and tell him. Tell him that the first edition was bought to put in all the libraries. This is a better edition. Consider.
Yeah, but if they only see 4 pages in this volume, they may say that why are we financing, opposition to all our grandiose schemes and so on. So that is our. But to show you that nature of the book, if you look at this book, it has got two schemes. It has got a bluish scheme and it's got a reddish scheme. Now all the chapters which have got a bluish scheme are those which is Goa before any intervention of human beings in the form of what we call industrial or modern civilization. Because agriculture has been there before, fishing has been there before. But the moment the first industry starts, and the first industry is mining, the color changes to pink. So it's actually supposed to be red, but they said don't use red because people will get frightened. Don't make it too alarmist. So once it comes to red, then you know that mining starts, industries start, all the tourism industry, all those have a, mining is a thing that starts in 1929. That's the first time the industrial mine comes into Goa. And then it goes on. But the most important industries like heavy industry like Zuari and all 1974 and all. It's hardly even 40 years old. So in that sense the book reflects the dual nature of Goa. And you can still see many of the things which are traditional, which are still in operation, and the other parts are basically with a lot of rebellion. I was actually, I was asking Rico to give me an opportunity to read you some funny things. Yes. Because those funny things are also, so you can make it into a part book reading also, not too very detailed because I don't have time. But let me take you to page 278. Now, Goa is the only place where you have an industries obituaries page. The number of industries that have been killed in Goa and gone away because of popular protest is enormous. So what we did was, we did a herald page of obituary for all the major industries that died.
That includes?
That includes, if you look at Nylon 66, 30th death anniversary, born 1983, departed 1995, conceived by Tapar India and DuPont USA, godchild of the Goa government, doting relative of the Central Pollution Control Board, adopted by Goa State Pollution Control Board. The new baby was to be housed on the Boothcomb Plateau at Keri Ponda. Neighbors, however, did not like its odor. All demanded that it be sent to an Apnagar in an adjoining state or be flown back to the US for treatment and embalming. There was no interment, no funeral, as the plant was dispatched after final rites to Gumudi Pundi in Tamil Nadu. These are obituaries which are written about all these, they are all very funny, I am not going to read them all. But the book in that sense conveys that a lot of things that have happened in Goa have been really resisted. The SCZs, for example. SCZs were Goa is historic for cancelling 18 SCZs in one day. In one day, the government issued a notification cancelling all of them because of the public protest. Meta strips, another big industry in Sankar, cancelled. They were supposed to do hazardous waste. In the end, they went bankrupt. The other fellows who went bankrupt is this famous Tirakal golf course, which is coming up, which was going to take the entire village of Tirakal. In the end, they had to move the company, National Company Law Tribunal, because they went bankrupt. So a huge number of people have gone bankrupt. Except Kelani, which was started on Naveli, they put up their plant, and within the one week of the High Court passing its order, asking how the plant had come up, they removed the whole thing and ran away. These are all big plants, not small plants. But this is in some sense measured.
Agonda Seema hotels.
Yeah, but that went without even a fight from us.
So the jungle is reclaiming this 5-star hotel, and I remember in those days they were boasting that we are close to the powers that
some powers
that was Sonia Gandhi or whatever it is, some.
Every one of them is close to powers that be. There's no doubt about it, and that's how. But I mean, the people of this small state are showing continuously that howsoever powerful you are, when the time comes, it will get you.
So you think protests have changed? You think people are more assertive and willing to come out? Like, because I remember the famous picture stuck in my mind. Pratap Singh Rani talking in the assembly and telling, Speaker sir, there are 8 people protesting about tourism on the Pato bridge. And he was not wrong, there were 8. It was a small number then. Today everyone is speaking this language. Would you agree? Of environment concern,
Yeah,
protection.
because at that time there were only a few people who understood what would be the impact of these developments. Like Professor Sergio Carvalho, who died a few months ago, he was a professor in Nirmala Institute of Education. And I remember him, I went along with him to the airport. He had brought eggs and cow dung and all that sort of thing. And the German Condor tourists, the first flight was coming in. And they were so upset by this proposal that Goa should be turned into a mass charter tourism. They went with this and they threw it on all the tourists and all the buses. And I was filming the whole thing. I was that time I was a journalist, so I wrote a story for India Today on the whole thing.
So before Barcelona, 30 years before Barcelona, Goa made headlines.
Goa made headlines.
And they
don't want this type of
They threw something called imsan at them. Imsan is dirty fish water, after you clean the fish.
Yeah.
So they threw all these things at the buses. I don't think it fell on
No,
India.
they didn't throw it on the tourists.
But it made the headlines. So
he was a very, very cultured and
gentlemanly kind of guy.
that even he could be provoked to this action, which showed the type of desperation of people. But now it's sort of widespread. Now, just 3 days ago, the people from Kalangut said, please come, because they are trying to cut all the gigantic rain trees in front of St. Alex's Church because of road widening. So I contacted Avartin, who's another rabble rouser, and he contacted a lot of people, and then we went there. And of course, immediately Joseph Supera turned up and Michael Lober said, we are not going to cut any trees. When you're entering Mapsa, you can see just next to a petrol station, there's a lone rain tree there now, standing by itself. Practically, I think it's about 1 meter off the footpath in the middle of the road. And they said, see, there may be accidents. We said, anybody who's drunk and goes into a tree deserves to die. There's no problem. But put a proper guard for it if necessary. But you will not touch this tree, because this tree was planted by Valerian Carvalho, the owner of the pump, in 1980. And today it's 40 years old.
Claude, at some level it looks a bit hopeless, because however much you do, it's not enough. But on the other hand, if you don't do this, even that would have been lost. So my question is, how do you, what's your advice to people on taking up such issues? What is the best way forward?
In most cases, success is inevitable. I mean, we have gone through all these 350 petitions in the High Court, and you would ask, where have we succeeded? Now you take Tiger, we succeeded. We went up there, the state government appealed right up to the Supreme Court. Even there, the committee which was appointed by the Supreme Court said, no, Goa requires a tiger reserve. Only thing is the matter has not come up yet in the Supreme Court. But I'm saying that issue is decided. Then you had this, what was the other matter?
Infrastructure projects.
The 3 infrastructure projects going through the wildlife sanctuary, the Mole Wildlife Sanctuary. The Tamnar one was told to get out of the sanctuary and go to the old part where there was an old line and replace that. The railway doubling. Can you believe it that railway doubling line is cancelled by the Supreme Court because of the agitation from Amchaiwal and Mane and a whole lot of other people and the petitions that we filed and so on. Tremendous victory from that point of view. Then what are the other matters? 72 is the last say a few months ago, when this insane habit of the town and country planning department of zoning, rezoning, any plot, you just have to go and tell the chief minister. Of course, you have to first put a deposit in the Dubai bank account. Then you have to go and tell him. I'm saying this openly because it's all known. The account number is also known. And you can go there and you go and tell him. And this is an error. It is shown as a paddy field, but it's an error. It should be settled. And he say yes, of course. Can you get an expert? And they would get the architect to say that yes, this is an error. It should have been shown as settlement. There are all houses around it, so it should be settled. Therefore, the market is. So on the ground of error, they converted some 39 lakh square meters of Goa, all the ecologically sensitive areas, including forest, mangroves, kazans, everything. But the High Court told them go ahead. They tried to do it before with 16B. Just the interim relief in that only, the government said If you go for the legal route and you stick to your environmental issues, the courts are always willing to listen. Sometimes you get Dutch judges. You get Dutch judges. There was one Dutch judge we got for a turtle nesting site, a fight that we had with a hotel in Morjing Beach. And the judge was so confused that even we have not been able to figure out what he has said in the the High Court judge. I mean, I just, there's sometimes you really don't know what's gone wrong. But by and large, we have succeeded. For example, if you take the Marriott, the first petition was filed in 1993. We had to file 3 petitions. We are still struggling with the court and with Marriott and with the government to remove the wall which they put on the beach. They put an illegal wall, but the most recent judge again came and said, no, you don't have a case. So we have to go back to the Supreme Court. So there are a few cases, there are setbacks. But we always tell people that if you have a setback in an environment matter, it's a setback not just for the Goa Foundation or for the petitioner who is fighting, it's also for the respondents, it's also for the judges. Everybody loses. If it's a genuine environmental issue, everybody loses. So people should not say, oh, they lost that case. No, we as a whole have lost the case. One important case that we lost in the Supreme Court was how do you identify a forest? So the forest department, Kishore Rao is here, he would know about all this. Forest department in Goa had come to a decision that a patch of forest, should be 5 hectares. It should have 75% forestry species, and it should have a canopy density. That means closure on the top of the leaf cover of 40%. So we said that that is not correct, because the Forest Survey of India said that it should be 1 hectare and not 5 hectares. And we also said that if you look at forests, the evaluation of forests, then forests of 10% and above, forget about 40%, even 10% and above are considered for the purposes of calculation of environmental services and costs and so on. And if you look at it, open forests in Goa are 1,000 square kilometers, both in the government forest areas and the private areas. 1,000 square kilometers out of 3,700 are open forests, means they are degraded forests. They are not 40%, they are between 10% and 40%. With a little bit of care and attention, they could go back to 40 and go back to 70. But we lost that case in the Supreme Court, because the real estate guys, they came in a lot, they created a lot of confusion, and the judges themselves, I think, in the end did not understand what the hell was happening. So they passed an order saying, no, we are upholding what the Goa government says. Let it be 5 hectares, let it be 40%, and forestry species, there is no doubt about it, let it be 75%. So there we lost. So we calculated we lost about 500 square kilometers of forest in the state of Goa, which was open forest.
Because of definition.
Because of a definition. And the stupid thing is that they say that the definition can change wherever you go in the country. So if you are in Maharashtra, you can have a different definition of a forest. In Goa, you can have a different definition of a forest. But a forest act is a central act, so the definition should be the same for everybody. But don't think that Supreme Court judges are also rational. They can also be irrational, and they can do some crazy things like passing this Manzara project in 1 month's time, disposing of all that son of that Ambani, Mukesh Ambani. I mean, the most stupid thing that the Supreme Court could have done is to approve a place for wildlife which is set up in violation of all wildlife laws in the country, and getting an expert committee to do it and then whitewash it and all that. It's something that, these things affect the standing of a body like the Supreme Court, and therefore we would not like to. It's something that hurts us and hurts the country and hurts wildlife. So sometimes we think it's a bit difficult. But other agitations have been very successful also.
A book of this nature, the pluses of it are that it brings everything together and gives a proper narrative explaining from where to where Goa has reached, why people are protesting, why these seemingly small fires all over the place are connected to maybe unresponsive political system or whatever. If you had to look back at it, what would you want to do differently, say, in the book?
No, I wouldn't want to change the format now. It's a tested format, it's gone through 5 editions and they're all sold out. Why would one want to change the formula? So, if you are getting a girl every time you are having a child and you want girls, very good, you will keep the same formula.
Tell them about illustration. I think that we haven't done.
Yeah, maybe why we have decided to, because Goa is a beautiful place. We said, now, these 2 earlier books were in black and white. And the pictures were all black and white, and we had to see that the resolution was very good. But even otherwise, the resolution, we had to be very careful. It had to be, after all, grayscale. We couldn't do anything. But the new edition, we got the, while we were doing the Armchair Mole campaign with the youngsters, a whole lot of artists, young artists came on the scene, and they became part of the Armchair Mole campaign. And they said that, look, you guys write, and writing is the conventional way of writing about environmental, but why don't you think of our artworks as also environmental contributions? I mean, educating people about the environment and telling them how beautiful the environment is, and what are the turbulence caused if you disturb the environment and so on. And we want to contribute. So we said, yes, that would be a marvelous idea. So the artists came in and started producing. This is the first, for example, illustration of the introduction to fish curry and rice. It's done by Beena Knight. She explains it also by saying, created as a homage to the book and its title. This is a pen and ink and mixed media illustration. Predominantly red hue is the same red of the chilies used in the masalas that are ground in an old-fashioned ragdo, a memory from childhood. Red also stands for Tamri Mati, the iron-rich laterite soil of Goa. Now, the frontispiece is also done by Hargi, Prerna Hargi, and also the last page. I mean, these are all works of art. And if you look at individual paintings, there are these wacko guys like who's that? Swabu. Now Swabu is somebody. I mean, it's almost impossible to. Now this is Swabu's one-page illustration of the entire ecosystem of the Western Ghats, from the hills to the beaches, and all the species of plants found in it. On one page. And he gave it to us for free. And that's why this book cost $3,000. I mean, to print it only in Bombay cost us somewhere $1,500 rupees, on the best press possible, because the publisher is here, Sinatra Fernandez. She said, no, this has to be the best possible production.
Every chapter has
there are 16 chapters. So every chapter will begin with one of these artworks from like this one, cultivating habits. So, and different artists who put up different contributions to the book, and they were all planned very well in advance, and we got their permissions. We spoke to them. They selected the title, Planning for Chaos. But there are other things which are also very important. Like we were trying to convince people of the problems that are caused, for example, by the railways. Now, most people, say, they don't really realize what happens to railways. Now, these are photographs of killings of wildlife by trains, by forest officers themselves. So, when you talk about doubling of a railway track, the trains going at 80 kilometers per hour, 40 kilometers per hour, and there are forest officers writing to the railways, please reduce your speed. They wouldn't reduce their speed. As a result, the Karnataka Forest Department has refused to clear the double track through the Karnataka forest. The Goa government has willingly gone and granted. The Goa government officers no longer use their brains. I mean, they just don't know what to do with Vishwajit Rani. They just say yes and yes and yes. But these are sort of things, according to me, which also make the book. And there are 3 pages of of pictures on the environmental damages of mining. Now, if you look at these 3 pages, what's happening to the rivers and to the mountains and so on, then you can, if somebody is going to tell you that mining is important for Goa and is important for prosperity of Goa, then you just show them these 3 pages. And you tell us when are you going to remedy this. 50 years of mining is passed, all the mining leases were shut down by the Supreme Court. You did nothing to repair anything. And you are given another 50 years of mining leases to another bunch of scoundrels to do mining in the same areas. So we said, it's a book that would not be written by academics. It's a book written by activists who want some change, who want people to think seriously about how Goa is going down unless you do something about it. And something about it is not just giving money, but giving time. But today I think people don't have the time. Time is the most expensive thing. But if they don't have the time, then it means that the environment is really not something of which is of crucial importance. The other thing people ask is money.
Before we run out of time, but I will end on a personal note if it's okay by you. I just want you to answer 2 very brief questions. Tell us a little about the young Claude Alvares, of course with Norma and Alexi and Peter and all of escaping from the rat race in Bombay and coming to Goa in a para or 2. And secondly, at what point did you think that Goa was a cause devoting your life to as an environmentalist?
That's very personal asking you this.
I didn't ask about your romance.
I normally doesn't ask you where I proposed to you. No, the fact is that we did leave Bombay after we got our degrees
At the age of?
And we got our, I don't know what age.
27?
I was 25, he was 29.
We were that young, no? So we left, we came here, and the window for the environment opened with a very unusual person whom you don't know, maybe don't know about, Sean Mahomi, the editor of Inside Outside magazine. And he is the person who says, Claude, I'm going to come out with this design magazine. I want an article, the first issue to carry an article.
Which was Goa finished in 10 years.
Goa finished in 10 years.
I know the title, but I have not read it, to be honest.
It's in the book written by Norman Dantes.
Many people have cited
Norman
it.
Dantes' book is there. So I travelled all over Goa to write a comprehensive piece on the developments in Goa. That is, we had just come to Goa. I got married in 77 and we were here in 77. And then went round and investigated, spoke to people, spoke to village people everywhere, and put together a story which became the cover story of InDesign. Goa finished in 10 years. Of course, I think right now I'll modify that. Some portions of Goa are finished, but many portions of Goa are still intact. Still, many people in Goa are intact. That is more important to me. Because if the people are intact, if they are still sober, like these people, humble people who defeat IITs in Valpoe, and somebody who defeats this film city, some in Cancun, and somebody who defeats a nonsense Unity Mall coming up in Chimel. These are ordinary people. They are not educated people. They are educated to 10th standard or whatever that rubbish education system Goa runs. But they are still people with a heart of gold, and they still understand their world, they still understand their village, they still know the people in their village, not unlike the people in the flats who don't know who's in the next flat. They know each other. And we live in that type of an environment. We live in a village now from the time that we got married. We refused to live in cities. And we have seen that village community sometimes can really be a solid force, even if they don't understand Panchayat Act and this act and all, but they can be a strong enough force to
And your choice to devote so much time to...
I'm saying after that, I think we got hooked. No. After we got hooked, then I began writing. Then I began writing for the Illustrated Weekly. And then
we lived in Sattari.
We were based in Sattari.
Rustic.
We did farming.
Yeah, that's another chapter, but we don't have time to. That deserves an interview in itself. But
Yeah, Illustrated Weekly was running it, Pritish Nandi was running it today, and he made me do a series of articles which were called Dear Menaka. Dear Menaka means they open letters to Menaka. She was an environment minister. But he told me go all around the country now and report on all environmental struggles all over. And that's how we began to do a lot of writing on other environmental issues from Orissa and from Kerala.
And around the same time you were declared one of the 40 top typewriter gorillas of India in those days. But that's a separate issue, we won't go there. There are many questions which I need to ask you about. But we'll keep it open to Q&A.
All this
Q&A.
fake media.
Yeah, you're sounding like Trump. So, but anyway.
But one thing there in this book also I should highlight, which I think you should, is something which is continuing. If you look at the, where is that page? Because the guy is around here right now, and you should, reaches 182. I did some little bit of homework for this talk. Because people should know what's in the book, and then if they like what I'm saying, I'm sure they're going to. Now these were photographs of all the beaches of Goa in 1992. This was done by Pankaj Cha, one of India's very well-known photographers. He came and spent time with us, and he took these pictures, and these are all 1992. And he's back in town, and we are going now to visit all these beaches, and from the same vantage point take these pictures, and then have again an exhibition. Because when the first edition was released by Menaka, we had an exhibition of these photographs. We had mounted them all in Minister Briganza and said, look at what your beautiful pictures are. And because it was coming at the same time as this promotion of charter tourism, we wanted to build an appreciation of the beaches of Goa for people. So again, this is in the old edition. There are few photographs in black and white, but they don't convey the beauty of these. And these were big pictures. And amazing thing is that he had the prints with him. He went all the way back to Baroda, opened his trunks, removed the slides, and made fresh copies. Then looked at the colors again, and so this is, in that sense, it's a collector's item. And I'm sorry for appearing like this, but it's a good book to buy.
But before that, you have to pass the test. You have to pass the test of the Q&A. So please, so we are in no hurry. We don't want to finish in a hurry. As long as you all have time, both of us have the time to go on till midnight. No. No. But any questions, please feel free to. If you want to introduce yourself, questions, observations, Kaji.
You're going to bang your head.
There's a lot of lovely things you said about Goans getting activated. But I'm observing, and there are a lot of new settlers who come into Goa, who may not be ancestrally Goan, who are taking up causes very actively. Okay, but there's a kind of a narrative that's being spread. Oh, you're not Goan, you're a bylaw. You don't belong to the state. Why are you breaking up issues? So I think this balance is something that we need to address, because I appreciate the kind of energy that's coming in from new settlers. So probably we need to, give impetus to this kind of support that we are getting. I also recall at one point there were some politicians who said that Claude is not a Goan. And that was so unfortunate, because they don't see that we are fighting for the soil and fighting for the earth. Okay, so is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Anybody who has made Goa his home is a Goan.
Absolutely.
There's no discussion about this. And let's not really get into a discussion like this. It's a work that you do that convinces people. Now, one of the best work that's being done on plastic is done again by somebody who is not a Goan. The Makanaga, plastic Makanaga. I mean, he's working, of course, with Demos and a few other people and so on, and they're doing something. But many of the Goenkas have also given up and gone. So, in a certain sense, other people had to take their place. And it's a good thing that other people have taken their place. Because otherwise, we would have gone to the dogs. a lot of the people who have come from outside who are what they call new settlers. As I said, if they are genuinely interested, but if they are only in this with this gated mentality, then nobody likes people in gated mentalities anywhere. But if they are here, if they are integrating in the community, if they have friends here, if they are willing to come for meetings, they are willing to support causes, they are willing to spend time on environmental issues, helping out environmental groups and so on, they are all welcome. So the Goans have always been very welcoming. They welcomed the hippies first in the 60s with open arms and created the whole substratum for tourism promotion in the state. After the contribution they have made, nobody else has made that type of a contribution. But it is again because of the openness of Goans. And I think there are narratives set up by political actors for political reasons. But by and large, people, at least forget about Goa, in India also, people know whose heart is in the right place and who is willing to be part of some sort of an education which is designed to set things right. And I would welcome all the people, forget about this. I used to have people when we were fighting in the Goa Foundation petitions. I remember Chagla, Mickey Chagla, the older gentleman, Norma was arguing on the other side. He was saying, no, these people are financed from Malaysia, Singapore, they don't want the tourism to develop in Goa, therefore they are filing all these petitions and so on. And throughout 20-30 years of work of the Goa Foundation, they found lots of people who are financing us. They said we are financed by foreign funds, we are financed by this. We are the only organization in the country which is not funded by foreigners. And that's why we survived. They have closed down, Mr. Modi has closed down, and Amit Shah have closed down all groups which are receiving foreign funds. Except if they are bachchas of the RSS, then they get funding. But otherwise, everybody else has been shut down. More than 12,000 NGOs shut down overnight because of some small mistakes. So we stayed out of it, and we are happy that we stayed out of it. And today we have survived well. So accusations keep coming all the time. People will keep making accusations. Today there is nobody left to make an accusation against anybody as far as all the people who are working on the environment. All my colleagues, whether the people working at the Citizens Hub, the Rainbow Warriors, Kalanan Mani with the Western Ghats movement. No one is being tarred because people realize that in the end environmentalists did do something good by warning society about what was happening and trying to do something before it's too late. And even today we know, as I said at the beginning, some portions of Goa are gone. Kalangut, for example, is no longer part of Goa. We can't call it part of Goa.
No, like Chopati.
Yeah, you should call it something else. But still they want to destroy the last village. But other parts of Goa, when you travel, you just go to TV and you go to Bishori and you go to Saptali and we went the other day to Bandla and so on. It's still relatively untouched and still in good state and still can be handed over to our future generations with a sign that we have given you some piece of gold which we have fought to keep. And we are giving it to you. But other places you can't hand over. It's garbage we are handing over, so it's not that point. So if you take that approach, you would be able to still make a difference. But I'm saying don't worry about what people say. And if you got the time and you are spending the time to join up with many of these issues, and we require more of you. I was struck with the fact that even in the Chimbel agitation and all that, very few people from Panjim were involved. It's a very strong village, agitation that took place. And even the Mirabag is so far away. But still, those people also won their victory in the end and got the chief minister to cancel.
But Claude, earlier they would say that it's only the Catholic middle class which is protesting. Now that myth has been broken.
That is completely
gone. Yeah, that is completely broken. But what I'm saying is that these divide and rule strategies will come. Any argument is good enough. So non-Goan is one, foreign funding is another, recent settlers is third. But I think people should be judged by their actions in that sense. Regarding ethnicity is not the issue here.
Yes.
And you see, we are Goans by default. but people who have come here
How about
and
choice?
taken the risk by choice and know what they are going to lose, have also both the determination and sometimes the additional intelligence and education or wherewithal to do things which maybe others locals could not manage. So in that sense, I see it as an add-on. It's not a.
No, it is a positive add-on. As far as I'm concerned.
Any other questions? More provocative, the better.
I don't think this is a very fundamentally hostile audience.
No, you made them laugh too much. So. Yeah, someone raising their hand.
Yeah, so I'm advocate Zara the Cruz, and since you said more provocative the better, I'm not going on that direction, but it may be a little in that direction. So we recently, you told us about, first of all, you and Norma ma'am are a great inspiration to all of us in the legal fraternity, and it has been a pleasure listening to you here. But we spoke about 16B, 17.2. We recently saw a statewide agitation led by an MLA on 39A, yeah, and we heard the TCP minister saying that law is not made or redacted on the streets. It has to be done in the assembly house by the lawmakers. And then when we had the assembly session in force, it was curtailed, citing elections, and a lot of bills which were going to be introduced to tackle all these matters weren't really given the chance to be introduced. Yeah, that's what we all see. So now, since 2027 is fast approaching and Goa is an election state, we are going to have our state assembly elections. We've for the past year seen both the central national parties ruling us, either or. Now for a long time, one party being in ruling. What is your take on how, since they are saying that lawmakers ultimately will decide the policy and all of that, do you think Goa at this point requires a very strong regional force, as an alternative to both these parties, or do you think that is not very necessary because irrespective of who's sitting in the assembly, things are going to continue this way?
They actually put this question to Rico.
I'm the politician.
No, because he said slightly more provocative, so I thought maybe let's go down
See,
that
I am
path.
not a person who bothers about political parties.
Yes.
Because whether it's a Congress, one of the worst things that Goa underwent was when Congress was in charge. I don't think that there are any improvement. Digambar Kamath has led the mining industry and all the illegalities in it. And he is now in the BJP, and tomorrow he is necessarily go back because he's got God giving him advice. But I don't think the solution comes in party hopping. And you have seen now the Aam Aadmi Party is merged with this. It doesn't work at all. I have been instinctively, together with Norma, confirmed in building up powerful citizens networks. And that's what we do. We have these PIL courses, for example, public interest law courses, which are 18 to 20 days, and we get the best of the legal fraternity to come and talk to ordinary people. Basically to try and build up people so that they have confidence in dealing with some of these problems themselves, whether it's through RTI, whether it's filing petition themselves, whether it's working the system and getting the system to. Now, if you look at all these agitations outwardly, Mirabag we were not involved, Goa Foundation not involved. But a lot of the legal work for the Chimbel thing came to the Goa Foundation. But we are not interested in disclosing it. People know about it because our lawyers, who are associated with us appear in this. But eventually, when the district court set aside all the permissions given for the Chimbel plan, it was our lawyers who argued the case. We drafted the petitions and so on. So it's we believe that if we can get every village to understand what is the nature of the power given to it by the Constitution as a self-governing unit, then something will change at that level. And we have done it now, for example, in Pada by interacting with the Gram Sabha. We have the first village now which has got a policy in force which is contrary to town planning. And the policy says that in this village you will not be allowed to put up a construction which is beyond 1+1. There's no way you can. The town planning may approve 1+2, but we are saying they are approving only 1+1. So there are already movements and we take an active stand. traditionally the village panchayats have been panchayats, the sarpanch has been these are sort of default positions, I remember in the 80s, who was the panchayat? Sacristan. The sacristan in the church, he was the sarpanch. Because nobody wanted that job. The fellow who puts up the lamps, the lights, the candles in the church, he was the sarpanch. But after 1994, they became a little bit powerful, they began to figure out. And today, of course, they have become a very corrupt bunch. I mean, every punch wants to exact this thing out. But if there is an alert citizen, then things do change. Now, we have got also in our panchayat also, we have got same, the panchayat who is elected and so on. But they want to do it in a certain way, but we have been telling them, don't do it in this way. There's been a sort of negotiation going on. Finally, we have decided that we will do certain things and give it to them so that they accept it, because they are tuned to operate in a certain way. Means, if you are putting up some construction, you do this. If you have, water license, then you have to go first to the sarpanch or to the punch, and then you get. These things have to change, but they cannot change just like that. They have to change by intelligent citizenry. In Asagaon, there are people who are revolting. In Anjuna, there are people revolting. If you look at the newspapers, they are a very good barometer. If you look at the Herald, every day you will find that some Gram Sabha has taken a decision that we will not allow this. Some Gram Sabha are taking a decision that we will not allow 39A in the village. Other people are saying, no, we are not allowing 17.2. So, if this type of a force develops, then the government will be very cautious, because they say that whatever we do, these people are going to create a noise and bring it to a halt. Justice Frederick Noronha has done a remarkable job. I mean, he's energized all the environmental groups in such a powerful manner. Yesterday there was a meeting in Sangye, and again, who would think that in Sangye people would get up? But there were people who came there, sitting in a big, pandal which was put up next to the bus stand, and they were listening to all their speakers, explaining the problems that were being faced. The politicians are not coming, which means that the politicians are not interested. Well, why involve them? Let them do their own thing. When you want to vote, you vote. You do because whatever decision, whatever party you vote for, they are all going to migrate to the BJP. So what is the use of going through that exercise? Might as well vote for the BJP itself. But at least have a group. Every village, we insist, have a group, because today you don't need. When we started in 86, 70, 77, 86, when we started, there was really no information available, not anything. But today, we have set up a system called armchair.in, which can be accessed on your mobile phone. And any village person, if he's got a smartphone, if he knows the survey number, if he doesn't know the survey number, he can access it. But once he knows the survey number, everything about that survey number, what is the status, whether it's forest, whether it's this, whether it's that, who has sold it, to whom, what the permissions granted, whether he has got a conversion seller, this, that, everything is given in his hand. He no longer requires RTI. Government requires RTI, but he doesn't require it. Because it's all on his fingertips. He can manage it straight away, that information, and then he can write the complaints, and then he can move forward and do what he wishes. So we have moved very far ahead. The government has been trying to put up some of the systems, but we have moved further than. We have now created a system which empowers every citizen. It is only in the state of Goa. And now the same guys who designed it for Goa are trying to design it for other parts of the country, because it's a system which gives people knowledge just by taking up their mobile phones. Tremendous amount of power that is available. Then the NGOs have got the Panchayat Raj Act amended to bring in spatial planning. Because they said spatial planning, because people be saying, no, you only do socio-economic planning, spatial planning is being done by town planning. But now they've imported spatial planning into the act, so that panchayats are bound to do spatial planning. But how is the space in the village being allocated? For what is it being allocated? Now they have moved into carrying capacity. Villagers are asking for carrying capacity analysis. Now every village does a carrying capacity analysis, you can be sure that all this boom will come to a halt. Because no village has got sufficient water, no village has got adequate power supply, no village has got garbage facilities. Many places garbage is completely broken down. So you can say this, we have exceeded our carrying capacity. So that's what happened on the beach. On the beaches, the National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management has done carrying capacity for shacks. And said on this beach you can allow this much, on this beach you can allow this much, on this beach you can allow this much. So even the government cannot give more than those amount of shacks. So if you have an intelligent way of moving, like the regional plan, if you look at the plan at the regional plan, this is the breakdown of the regional plan in terms of zoning. 82% of the zones of Goa, eco zones, 82% of the land area of Goa. Eco zone 1 and eco zone 2. In eco zone 1 is 52% of the 82%, and there is no construction allowed. In the remaining eco zone 2, only limited type of construction, no real estate projects, nothing can be allowed. Mining, nothing can be allowed. And in only that remaining portion of 14 to 16%, you can do what is called settlement activities. The 82% of Goa is protected by law. By law. That is why Mr. Vishwajit Rane is interested in demobilizing. So what he is doing is converting pieces of that 82% and bringing it into the settlement zones. But 82% is still a law. That's why 16B failed. That's why 17.2 failed. 39A is also, this court has said very fairly, whatever you are doing under 39A is subject to this writ petition. If they win it, all those permissions will go. This is the Bible. This is the Samvidhan of Goa. This is adopted, notified in the Gazette, and this is law. Now, if you make this work, you will protect your mangroves, your kazans, and everything. And that's what you get in this book. This book gives you all that information on how you can empower yourself and where to hit. I mean, there's no point in doing something in a settlement zone. If there's already a settlement, somebody is putting up, instead of one, he is putting up two. Damn it, because he's already done the damage, the foundations are put up. He is entitled to 1 plus 1. If he puts one more, why do you want to waste your time on it? But if he's converting a field, or if he's converting a hillside, or converting a plateau or something, then you know that it's an undesirable activity. It's going to be illegal per se. You can take your mobile phone, go to armchair.in and find out all the details about it. And you know whether he's doing. Now you may feel that, oh, if I do something, they are going to come after me. And that's why we set up the Citizens Hub. We have a Citizens Hub in Panjim, which accepts complaints from anybody. And which says that, you got a complaint, you don't file it, we file it under our name here. But a complaint is filed. Now the sand extraction that was going on for so many years in Goa illegally, all the fellows said that we can't give our names because they come to our houses and butcher us. Because all mafias there. So we formed a network, and we said this network is a sand extraction network. So now the network operates and files all the complaints. And even the government and the High Court doesn't ask who's behind the network. They said as long as they are filing complaints, they are anonymous complaints, but they have got an organization behind them, we accept.
So that's a very fascinating high point to stop on.
It's a positive, the whole book is written not out of despair, it's written out of hope. And saying that if you look at
so let me add another point of hope.
Be able to do something.
Because as advocate said, she asked about politics. And we were discussing politics, and I don't know what came over me. I just told my friends from Delhi, I said, see, there's no meaning left to politics. The amount of blood transfusion that goes on between the different political parties is not funny. So, today one person is in this party, next day is in the other party. So even if there is regime change at some point, there will be no accountability. And the bottom line of this is that Claude has taught us a lesson over the last 30, 35, whatever years that I know him. And the lesson is that information has to be in the hands of the common man. That's the most subversive thing you can do. Because once the citizen down there, we are already seeing signs of it. Once they are empowered with your knowledge, they know that something is going on, whether it's a tech solutions or the information solutions. That kind of, whether it's Claude's bookstore, Norma's bookstore, and Claude's press, and I think at the end of the day, citizens need to be empowered. We need to understand how so-called democratic systems are being blocked, are being hijacked. There is no democracy. Inner party democracy is not there. People are being just placed on our head. I don't think any party has a system of primaries or what the grassroots says, what the people want. There's nothing of that. But accountability is coming, and that's a slow process. It doesn't reflect the newspaper headlines, but hopefully it will. And unless you all have some very pressing question at this point, because I think we have to wind up and move to the book sales, which will be sold and signed. And sorry.
The thing about this book is unique in the sense that the publisher says all the money that comes from the sale of these books, whether it's the luxury edition, which is the, comes with a case and a tote bag, or it's this edition, the 100% contribution goes to the Goa Foundation. So it's the Goa Foundation is actually transforming now. I'm going out. Supposed to have left on the 1st of April, but the transition may take another month or two. But I'm going out, and a whole lot of young people are coming in. And it's heartening that one woman has given us a premise in Panjim free of cost. So the Goa Foundation is moving into that just next to the church. And another woman has given us a property in Diwar for setting up ecology center for training youngsters and exposing them to the wild and to nature and biodiversity. So, but we need constant funding to keep the activities of the Goa Foundation going. And as I said, it's a unique model. Nobody in the Goa Foundation at the trustees level, of course, takes any money. Nobody is interested in any money or anything also. But we always have some staff, some lawyers, etc. to be paid, some Supreme Court matters to be handled and so on. So we need. We don't take any grants from anybody, but we accept donations. And a lot of people do give us. But last year the income taxes said no to our ATG, and they're not renewed it. So we have to again go through that process and see whether they will renew it. So this book, if all the 3,000 copies are sold, we are safe for 2 years. For 2 years, we are safe for 2 years in terms of funding. And that's why we try to persuade. Many people come to me and say that you are doing very good work with the Goa Foundation. Because of you, Goa is safe. Now I'm keeping copies in the car. I said, if you really think you're buying a copy.
Yes. But we should take some notes from him on how to sell books. Oh, of course! Yeah, of course.
I'm thoroughly ashamed of selling my own books, but this is, we are knowing full well that I have no problem, I don't have anything from it, but it all goes to law foundation, so I can be fully unabashed about it, shameless about it.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this.
Making it, I just need 2 minutes. I wanted to give them something. There are four gifts on my table.
Wow. I hope you're giving me a new shirt or something.
I wish, but I don't make shirts.
Every time I see a new shirt.
I know.